विषय तृष्णा कृष्णमाराधयामि विगत विषय तृष्णा कृष्णमाराधयामि सकल कलुषभङ्गे स्वर्ग सोपान संगे सकल कलुषभङ्गे स्वर्ग सोपान संगे तरलतर तरंगे देवी गंगे प्रसीद 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 नमामि गंगे नमामि गंगे नमामि गंगे नमामि गंगे
स्वर्ग की परछाइयाँ दिखती तेरे आंचल तले, माँ तेरी हर बूंद में बहती हुई ममता मिले। तू हथेली तन पे फेरे मन को भी निर्मल करे, जिस तरह को तू छुए जीवन से उसको सींच दे। लेके आया हर कोई बस पाप तुझको सौंपने, फिर भी तू बहती चले सबको लगा करके गले। स्वाद अमृत का तुझे ही चूम कर जाना, प्रसीद 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 नमामि गंगे 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 नमामि गंगे। पानी जो तेरा खारा तेरे आंसू की धारा, कैसे मैं देखूं संतान हो। माना है तुझे माँ ये धर्म है मेरा, मैं तुझे तेरा वो सम्मान दूं। नमामि
Resurgent India Knowledge Series presents Virtual Session on Namami Gange. Mr. U.P. Singh, IAS, former Secretary, Ministry of Textiles and Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India. U.P. Singh is an IAS officer of 1985 batch, belonging to Odisha cadre. After a distinguished service of more than 37 years, Shri Singh superannuated on 31st of October 2022. Shri Singh did his B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Kanpur. He followed it up with the M.Tech degree in Industrial and Management degree. Mr. G. Ashok Kumar, IAS, Director General National Mission for Clean Ganga. G. Ashok Kumar, who belongs to the 1991 batch of Indian Administrative Service, IAS Telangana cadre, is presently working as Director General, National Mission for Clean Ganga or Namami Gange, a flagship program of the government to clean river Ganga and its tributaries. He is also the project director for the National River Conservation Directorate, set up for conservation of other major rivers in the country. Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, IAS, former Director General National Mission for Clean Ganga, an alumnus of IIT, Kanpur. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra joined the Indian Administrative Service in 1987 and held several responsibilities in policy making and program implementation, particularly in sectors like irrigation and water management, river rejuvenation, disaster management, urbanization and housing. Mr. Vinod Tare, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Kanpur. Dr. Vinod Tare is an Emeritus Fellow in Environmental Engineering and Management, Department of Civil Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology Kanpur. He superannuated as a Professor in Environmental Engineering and Management, Department of Civil Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology Kanpur and also held Sir M. Vishvesharaya Chair Professor established by the Ministry of Water Resources. Mr. Suresh Babu, Senior Director, Ecological Footprints WWF, India. Suresh Babu SV is the Senior Director, Ecological Footprint, WWF India. He leads WWF India's Ecological Footprint program, which comprises work on rivers, wetlands, and water policy, climate change, sustainable agriculture, and sustainable business.
Good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to everyone. Today, we are going to discuss about Namami Gange mission. जैसा कि आप सब लोगों को पता है, करोड़ों भारतीयों के लिए गंगा केवल एक नदी नहीं है। गंगा का प्रवाह केवल जल का प्रवाह नहीं है, ये संस्कृति का प्रवाह है, सभ्यता का प्रवाह है। करोड़ों भारतवासियों के लिए गंगा केवल जीवनदायिनी नहीं है, मोक्षदायिनी भी है। So today we are going to discuss over next one hour or so about Namami Gange mission, a flagship scheme of Government of India, and it's one of the unique webinars where all the three Director Generals of National Mission for Clean Ganga, when National Mission for Clean Ganga was reconstituted as an authority in 2016, I was the first Director General National Mission for Clean Ganga. Thereafter, Rajiv Ranjan Mishra took over and he held the position for more than 3 years. And thereafter, G. Ashok Kumar presently is the Director General National Mission for Clean Ganga. And he was earlier also, when I was DG and Suresh, I think Rajiv was DG, he was also Executive Director looking after the projects. And there's another thing is that three of us, again, not three of us are DGs, but three of us also have IIT Kanpur connection. Me and of course, Rajiv are IIT Kanpur alumnus and Professor Tare is at IIT Kanpur. So I will not take more time. We will start with G. Ashok Kumar. He is the man of the moment right now because he is the leading this important mission at present. So I'll request him to make a short presentation to tell our viewers about what this Namami Gange mission is about and to what extent we have been able to achieve the success so far as the mission is concerned. Over to Ashok.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity, sir. And as you rightly mentioned, sir, this is a very unique webinar with all the three people who were associated, and Dr. Tare also directly right from the preparation of the Ganga Rejuvenation Action Plan is there. So it's a unique webinar that way, sir. And sir, thanks for the foundation stone laid by all of you in the last so many years. The Namami Gange program has picked up well, sir. I'll come to that in a moment, sir. Next one. Sir, actually, some basics, sir. It is the Ganga River to all of you know, but then for the people who are attending it, some basic statistics, sir. It's about 2,500 kilometer long river with about 8.5 lakh square kilometer area in the basin. and 100 Ganga basin cities, and it also considered 40% of India's GDP and 43% of population. Next one. So this is the slide which shows the various aspects of the Ganga program. So it is a integrated river rejuvenation mission for River Ganga, sir, and with holistic approach, it works on pollution abatement, improving technology, ecology, and flow, and strengthening the river people connect. So this is one of the largest and acknowledged river rejuvenation programs in the world, and very proud to say that with in the last year, on December 22nd, 2022, Namami Gange was recognized one of the top 10 world restoration flagships by the UNDK, sir. So the 5 aspects of the Namami Gange program. Earlier they had 4, and now 5th Ardha Ganga also came in. So these are the 5 aspects. The Nirmal Ganga, which talks about the unpolluted flow of water in the river. Second is Avral Ganga, which means that the uninterrupted ecological flow of water in the river. And then Gange Ganga, which talks about the research policy and formulation, knowledge management of various experiences done and the research is done, and the knowledge gained in handling the river, the pollution abatement projects and river morphology management, etc. That is part of the Gange Ganga, sir. And then the most important is the Jan Ganga, where we talk about the people's participation in the program. And capstone, bringing all these 4 pillars together, is the Ardha Ganga, which means river people connect by boosting economy to a economic bridge of economics. So these are the 5 major pillars, sir. And almost 442 projects have been sanctioned so far, with at a cost of about 37,396 crore. So this is the snapshot of the programs. About 193 sewage projects are there sanctioned, with a capacity of to create 6,000 MLD treatment capacity and about 5,000 MLD network, involving about 30,000 crore exclusively for the sewerage projects. We have completed about 106 of them, and created a capacity about 2,066 and MLD, and 4,400 kilometer network have been completed. And other initiatives taken up are riverfront projects and solid waste management, infrastructure development, then biodiversity and afforestation, bioremediation projects, etc. like that. So almost 442 projects. So we have spent almost 16,000 crore. If you notice in the financial side, you can see 16,500 crore. Out of this, from the NFCG fund, we have paid about 14,000 crores, and some money we could collect it back from the state governments, because we are now introduced the single treasury account system, which means that unless the money is actually spent, it cannot be recorded. So that's why from 16,000 it has come down to about 14,000 crore, and we are also refunded to the government about 200 crore to the funds. Next one. So this is the snapshot of the progress of the program. Next one. So this is the next one. About 981 MLD we have created from April 14 to December 21, sir. And about next one. 2,667 projects MLD is being created from 1st January to August 2023. And total will be about 3,348 MLD from April 14 to December 23 is what we have target to achieve, sir. And also plan to do about 2,600 MLD till March 26. This would actually cover most of the sewage generation treatment gaps in the 5 major Ganga Ganga states, and other states like Madhya Pradesh, part of areas we are where there are Ganga basin of the Chambal River, etc. We are now taken up. We are taken up work in Shipra. We are taken up work in Khan River, etc. And also in the Yamuna, a lot of work has been taken up, sir. So we work in 11 states, primarily focusing on the 5 states of the mainstem Ganga, and the other 6 states which have many tributaries of Gange flowing in it. Next one. So this is the disbursement of the World Bank loan, sir. Almost $1 billion was sanctioned, and in the last, ever since the formation of the authority, 2016 onward, the disbursement has picked up. And this year, from a target of $51 million, we already touched about $90 million. Next one. So this is the framework of that, sir. Five main pillars are there. National Gange Council is the apex body, which is headed by the Prime Minister of India. Then there's an empowered task force headed by the Minister. Then there's a governing council and executive council headed by the DG Namami Gange, state Gange committees and district Gange committees. These are the five pillars, and the work is monitored by these groups, and the sanctioning power of the projects is with the executive committee. So we sanction the programs and various projects in the executive committee. That's the third pillar. Next one. This is the picture of the National Gange Council meetings chaired by the Honorable PM. The first one was held in Kanpur in 2019 when Rajiv sir was the DG and the Secretary sir was the Secretary of the department. And the last meeting was held in 30th December 2022 at Calcutta. Next one. So I'll just go through some of the achievements, sir, then get to the other aspects. Next one. So as I mentioned, this is recognized as one of the 10 top world restoration flagships in 2021 at the 2022 at the COP 15 of biodiversity conference. Next one. We also had the award in London, or the Public Water Agency Award, when Rajiv sir was the DG. And then we also have the award given to us for the movie on Ganga made by the National Geography. 3 awards we got: Best Documentary, Best Current Affairs, and Best Natural History of Wildlife Program category in 2022. Next one. So this is the participation in the UN Water Conference 23. Since we were one only agency from India who were recognized by the UN as eco-restoration program. We were the only entity from India invited for making a side event at the UN Water Conference, which we did in New York. It was a fairly successful event with a lot of ministers, countries participating in our side event. And we also had a lot of bilateral meetings with 13 countries. We pushed to a very good concept of River City Alliance in that meeting. Next one. So we also are compliant with the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, and all the 9 goals related to water, we work on that, and the 10 restoration principles of UNDCAID. All these things are followed very closely in the Namami Gange programs. So the results of what we have done in the last 8-9 years is this: the polluted stretches have come down. You see, 14-15. We had one stretch in category 2, highest polluted level, at Buxar to Bhagalpur. One in category 3, which is about Varanasi, Kannauj to Varanasi, and 2 in category 5. And with all the interventions we have done in the last 8 years, we could reduce the polluted stretches. Now we have only 2 stretches, that too in category 5, the lowest of the polluted stretches category. And the other 2 stretches which were considered polluted earlier has gone out of the reckoning, because they are much more purer than the category or any of this categorization. We get very good quality of water in the 2 stretches, and the other 2 from 3 and 5 has come down to 5, and it is also on the border of the lower category. Next one. So if there's an increase in biodiversity, we have recorded about 4,000 dolphins, up from about 2,000 dolphins about 3-4 years back, because of the improvement in water quality. The ranching of Indian major carps, about 9.3 million fishes have been branched so far, which again is an indicator that the water quality has improved, and the exotic varieties which used to dominate the river has come down. And we also started 6 biodiversity parks in UP. This also indicates that the water quality has improved. Next one. So these are the 5 pillars, as I mentioned. Next one. unpolluted river flow. We have 193 projects of sewage treatment facility, and we have constructed ETPs, the industrial effluent program, plants at Kanpur and other places. The Kanpur project will be completed in by end of this month or next month. We are taking water next month, sir. That will be a very major success that the Kanpur CTP would be functional by end of this month or the 15th of next month. And the chromium recovery plant also started. Fully functional, it will be in the another 2 months, because that period of stabilization is there. And the other projects in Kanpur of the STPs, that is also getting completed. So end of this, probably next month, we can see that Kanpur would be absolutely good water coming in. All the industrial effluents as well as the sewage will be treated and before it's put into the river. Next one. Some of the innovative projects we did was the hybrid annuity model, where we pay only 40% of the capital of the capex expenditure in the first period of the construction period, and the remaining is taken up in the next 15 years. This has been appreciated by World Bank and many other by other funding agencies. In fact, last week we had a presentation to 12 EDs of the World Bank in Agra, and they were extremely happy with this with HAM model. Our HAM model has made so much of a difference in the market. We have had from 3 to 4, 5 people participating in the tender. We had 19 people participating in Meerut, and about 12, 13 people participating in other programs. So number of people participating in the tender and in the competition has really increased as part of, because of these innovations we have done. We have one city, one operator model, where all the STPs of one unit is handled by one of the operators. We have also come out with a new concept of the urban river management plan. About 143 cities are members of the River City Alliance, which is now making a lot of interventions in the cities on the banks of the rivers for water management as well as river management. Next one. So these are some of the STPs, sir. We have actually changed the STPs from a dirty looking structures to beautiful structures, and we have renamed it as Nirmal Jal Kendras. So basically it is the pun intended, Nirmal, no mal, good pure water there. And we are taking school students and college students to visit this place so that they become much more familiar with what are the things happening in the STPs, etc., and in more of a awareness generation program. This is Karmali Chak in Bihar, Beur in Bihar. Next one. This is Barakpur, Patna, Beur, sir, Ramnagar. Next one. Dimapur STP, sir, Moradabad, Halishahar, Ramana. And these are some of the developments we made in the ghats. Next one. This is some of the ghats, pictures of the ghats. Next one. And this is the Prayag, which I mentioned. It's a real-time platform for real-time analysis of Yamuna and Gange and tributaries. A lot of information, data comes in here. We have dedicated 1 GBP line taken for this area. So we get information real-time from the 175 STPs and various monitoring points of the pollution in the river, and we'll take action on that. We have also the live feed from many of the construction sites happening into this location coming next one. So this is the Avral Ganga, which falls about the ecological flow, which was notified to ensure that there's a minimum flow of water in the river. Next one. This is Jan Ganga, where we talk of getting people together for this activities associated with River Ganga. Next one. So this is another very innovative thing, sir. District Ganga committees, as a part of the program, we started reactivated the District Ganga committee with the DGC forum. There is monthly mandated, monitored, meeting. That's a forum. Monthly mandated, monitored, and minuted meetings. This was started on 6th April 2022, sir. And now, next one. See, you can see that, sir. Almost every month, these meetings are happening, and almost 1,598 meetings have happened so far. Every district committee monitoring meetings are minuted and monitored, and it is uploaded in a platform. So we get the information of all the activities there, and they also get information of the various program sanction. And this has really made a lot of impact for our people connected. So there's a lot of transparency and involvement of people in the Ganga monitoring now. This is one of the very major success programs, sir, of involving people and the decentralized management, because all meetings are held under the leadership of DMs, and every month DMs have a meeting at a very specific period, time and day. Next one. So Ganga is, as a
So we are not able to hear you. Is there a connectivity problem? Rajiv, can you hear?
I can hear you, sir.
No, are you able to hear Ashok's presentation?
No, I cannot hear Ashok, sir. So I think some problem from the NMCG side, from his end.
So I think we can stop the presentation now.
Yes.
As and when. Ashok, can you hear us?
yes, sir, I can hear it, sir.
Okay, fine. So thank you very much for a very comprehensive presentation. In fact, it makes my life a little difficult that what kind of questions I'm going to put to the other speakers and panelists, because you have covered everything. But still, I'll take an opportunity to congratulate you as one of the, for Namami Gange being recognized as one of the top 10 world river restoration projects actually. And also about the, I remember when I had joined National Mission for Clean Ganga as DG, that time the utilization of funds, World Bank funds used to be 1 million a year. So somebody jokingly in the World Bank says that by this rate, it will take 100 years for the 100 million USD to utilize actually. And it's so maybe, and now we have almost exhausted that money. So congratulations for that. So thank you very much. Now I will go to Rajiv Ranjan Mishra. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, as I have told earlier, has steered this mission for more than 3 years actually. So Rajiv, you can tell us primarily, because see this Ganga, people have been working for Ganga for very long actually. Ganga Action Plan also came up, I think, in 1986 or something. Then there was a GAP 1, GAP 2, then NGRBA in 2009. So how is this National Mission for Clean Ganga? This mission, how this Namami Gange mission, how is this Namami Gange mission different from the earlier attempts to work for Ganga?
Thank you, sir. I think it's a great seeing all of you here and share some thoughts. And as you said, Ashok has covered more or less all the detailed components. So I will try to reflect, as you have very rightly pointed out. In fact, my association with this mission is not only as DG. So मैं एक तरह से अपने को बहुत लकी समझता हूँ कि मुझे 2 बार माँ गंगा की सेवा करने का मौका मिला था. So 2013, when World Bank project was just sanctioned, NMCG was just created in 2011. I had joined in 2013. और उस समय तक एक भी प्रोजेक्ट सैंक्शन नहीं हुआ था. So one feels so happy to see 442 projects and 37,000. Our struggle was to set up NMCG and create that, and it's very rightly said. That time it was part of Ministry of Environment and Forest. And in fact, right from 86 onwards, Ganga Action Plan started. So one major difference which happened. So because I was in a position to see NGRBA, I was implementing NGRBA plan at that time. And then I also saw the announcement of Namami Gange and conceptualization of Namami Gange mission and its approval in 2014-15. I left, again joined in 2018. So earlier, I think 2-3 major differences I will highlight because numbers are all already before us. Conceptual level पे बहुत बड़ा फर्क पड़ा. I think this had started with NGRBA with basin approach की बात हो रही थी, but actually to really make it basin approach started with Namami Gange, where actually with the authority order and several other things, it actually really took shape. Second thing is the concept has been right from Ganga Action Plan and other things. Every river used to have one action plan. Ganga Action Plan, Yamuna Action Plan, Gomti Action Plan, like that we used to do it. Here for the first NGRBA tried to bring it together, but administratively एक साथ नहीं आया था. So administratively lot of changes happened here when this mission came because everything became basin and then Namami Gange mission, NMCG was empowered to take care of everything. It developed into a multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder program very nicely. So actually conceptual understanding from cleaning to rejuvenation started taking shape, which you have just seen. Nirmal Ganga, Aviral Ganga, Jan Ganga, Gyan Ganga, some of these, and Earth Ganga, some of these terms which Ashok used. So earlier we were only looking at STPs. It was a very piecemeal kind of thing because money was also, the budget available was also very small. I mean, 2013-14, I can tell you, sir, our budget used to be roughly around 300 crore. So from 300 crore to 2,000, 3,000 crore kind of thing, I mean, so approach was paisa kam hai. So I think pick up something which is very dirty, pick up 1 or 2 projects, construct 1 or 2 STP, and then that way actually it has not taken much shape at the ground level. So that was a difference. Administrative governance level, lot of difference came. As I said that the authority order came, it gives a kind of principles of rejuvenation. And another important thing which happened is in 2015, Ganga River Basin Management Plan came from the IITs because I think NGRB started in the right way, saying that the basin plans would be there. It got completed before that Namami Gange was announced. So it was a very good opportunity for us to utilize this broader understanding of the river and its basin management, all the conceptual thing, and put all of them into Namami Gange mission. So that is how it became a very robust and very flexible kind of mission where actually you give Nirmal Ganga can have industrial thing, can have several things. This is also first time we looked into the rural areas. Because earlier programs primarily were city oriented, para-status, UP Jal Nigam, Budco, construction oriented. So it has started becoming a kind of people oriented program, and throughout Ganga came in the center, river came in the center of the program, all along Ganga, whether it is village, whether it is town, not 1 or 2 hot spots, but all the towns, all the Ganga towns. So I think that kind of comprehensiveness came where you started putting up all of them. Administratively, a kind of integration also came from Prime Minister to District Magistrate. I think Ashok showed us the slide. National Ganga Council, headed by Prime Minister, goes to the district level, District Ganga Council, chaired by the District Magistrate. Financially, a kind of assured budget. First time, 5-year budget was given. Earlier, every year some annual budget used to come, so the planning was never complete. Here we got a chance to really look at the entire river and do it. So that came. Lots of financial autonomy was also given. Institutions were created. So I think all these things started getting it. And to end, another major change which happened is a kind of approach of continuity, because our authority order gives regulatory role also. So mandate become much bigger. So from the NMCG started as an SPV of World Bank project. It was a project organization. Now it's a kind of authority looking at regulation, looking at flow, looking at pollution control, monitoring, several things. So some projects will get complete quickly, maybe 2 years, 3 years, but job of Namami Gange mission or NMCG will continue because you have to monitor them. You have to, I think it has to be a kind of continuous process. So ek nadi ko saaf karna, rejuvenate karna, continuous process hai, that mandate also comes through this thing. So that's a major change from the earlier programs in this field.
Oh, thank you very much. What I take it from you, of course, one is that it's a really now integrated mission on a basin approach in real sense, not only on the paper. And the other, of course, very important thing, which is very important, is that there was a dedicated budget for 5 years. And perhaps no other organization has this kind of a power, in the sense that executive committee headed by the Director General can sanction a project of even 1,000 crore.
Yes, 1,000.
So you are right. And the third, you very rightly said, continuity. There used to be a change of a mission director. Earlier it used to be called a mission director. Used to be almost 6 months or maybe 1 year. You used to have a new one mission director. Now Ashok is only the 3rd Director General, even though it has been now 7 years. So in 7 years, we are having only a 3rd Director General. So that's very good. Now we come to Professor Tare. While Ashok making a presentation, he said certain stretches are absolutely not polluted. Certain stretches still has some pollution. He was talking of some figure. So could you tell us that when we say that a river is clean or something, what is the parameters? How do we measure, let's say, a quality of water or whatever, a cleanliness of the river?
Thank you very much. It's a nice opportunity for me to participate with all of you. In fact, we all have been working together for so many years. And it's a good initiative from your side to organize this kind of webinar. It's very important when we say, what do we mean by we have clean river or we have regenerated river? So it's very, now from a public's perception point of view is what we have to see. When people will say that the river is clean, We may be giving lots of parameters or whatever. So I think in my way of looking at it, based on whatever discussions that I had with large number of people, I think our objective is to make sure that every river stretch, indigenous aquatic life and the riparian life returns or sustains. That is the real test for all the program. And I think when Ashokji mentioned about it, we are very happy to share that also, that in many places this really has improved. And that is why we are not just saying on the basis of water quality, but we are actually saying that the biota in the river has improved. So that is, but we have to now spread that almost to each and every tributary of the river. Now, that is a very larger objective. But when we talk about cleanliness of the river, ultimately it boils down to whether the water is clean or not. Okay. But I think clean water, English word doesn't explain that much as Nirmalta explains.
Yes.
Okay. And Nirmalta actually means we are not talking about drinking water. We are not talking about water which is useful for human beings. What we are talking about, Nirmalta, means that the aquatic life and the riparian vegetation which is indigenous to that particular place, the water quality is such that it is acceptable to them. So it is from that point of view. And the very first parameter that comes to our mind is the dissolved oxygen level. And I also would like to make it very simple rather than making it very complicated. I think somewhere we have in mind that pollution is the one which is, dominantly affecting the river. But from the river's perspective, for aquatic life, the most important thing is the dissolved oxygen. And this is what I have been saying, that if you monitor dissolved oxygen levels in the river, many things are taken care of. So from river's perspective, I will say it is the dissolved oxygen level. What we have to do it, we have to increase the frequency and the density of monitoring, and also involve as many stakeholders as possible in that monitoring. So make it simple, make it only 1 or 2 parameters, very simple parameters, rather than going for very complicated thing. And I think dissolved oxygen is one thing. And maybe to add that, we can add very simple parameters which locally can be measured, like pH, conductivity, and that will give a reasonably good idea about how the water quality is from the perspective of indigenous this thing, and involve as many stakeholders as possible. And we are now looking at how people who are on the river side can be engaged in such kind of monitoring, so that will also empower them. They will also feel good that yes, we are monitoring our own resources. I think that's the way we have to move. So in the first round, this is what I would like to say. When we say cleanliness, cleanly means the indigenous aquatic and riparian life returns, and for that water quality should be commensurate according to that. And very simple parameters like dissolved oxygen, pH, conductivity can be easily measured. Frequency has to be increased. The density of measurement has to be increased. And those who are measuring, they should also be diverse kind of people, not limited to only few agencies or few institutions. So how we can have a network of many stakeholders engaged in monitoring, that what should be our next goal. And then we can move from.
Thank you very much, Professor Tare. I remember when I was also DG, अब जो हमारी मंत्री उस समय उमा भारती यही कहती थी कि जहाँ पे जिसको होना चाहिए, जहाँ पे अगर कछुआ का होना चाहिए, अगर वो कछुआ वहां पे है, जहाँ पे मछली को होना चाहिए, अगर वो मछली वहां पे है, जहाँ पे डॉल्फिन को होना चाहिए, वहां पे अगर डॉल्फिन है, तो इसका मतलब है कि नदी ठीक है. So that is one best parameters. And of course, you have very rightly said dissolve oxygen, क्योंकि उनको सर्वाइव करने के लिए सबको ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत पड़ती है. वो जो ऑक्सीजन लेती हैं, वो पानी में जो डिजॉल्व ऑक्सीजन होता है, जो घुला होता है, वहां से लेती हैं. So DO is a very important parameters. So since we were talking about these aquatic animals and all, now I'll come to Suresh. We keep hearing about biodiversity. Sometimes many of us do not understand what is a biodiversity and biodiversity conservation. And then what is, how is that a biodiversity conservation is very relevant to the river rejuvenation, whether it's a Ganga river or any other river. So one, I would like to very briefly know what is a biodiversity, how is biodiversity conservation very relevant to river Ganga, And the thirdly, how is the biodiversity status of river Ganga in different stages? Very briefly.
Thank you, sir. And it's again a proud privilege for me to be part of this August panel. All the three DGs and also Prasutare, from whom I have we have worked together for many years now. Sir, your question, I'll go back to what where Prasutare entered. It's about health of the river. It's about health of the river. So when you look at the indicators, you need to know, what kind of species are available. Now, when you're talking about biodiversity, it covers flora and fauna. It's not just the animals, but also it's a plant life that is available in the river system. Now, for us, biodiversity conservation and river conservation are both two different two sides of the same coin. Unless you keep your river healthy, biodiversity cannot be conserved, and unless there is biodiversity, you cannot call the river healthy. So that's kind of the interlinkage and the interconnectedness of the conservation of biodiversity and the river that we are talking about. Now, in terms of Ganga, it's unique. We all know about it. It's not just because we have majority of the dolphin population in this region. Ganga river dolphins available in Ganga and its tributaries. More than 80% of the Ganga river dolphins are found in the Ganga system. Ghadials, if you look at it, it's about 90% of the global population of the ghadials are found in the Ganga and its system. And for instance, the chambal is the most important habitat for the ghadials. So from that perspective, it's very important. But what makes our system unique is also the lower organisms. So DG presented in his slide, there are more than 230 plus species of fish that is available. So it's this complex interaction between the higher strata of animals and the lower one, which maintains that food system and also the nutrient cycling, which is very, very important for a river system to be healthy. So therefore, like we are talking about, water quality is one aspect, but we are hearing about environmental flows. So maintenance of thresholds of flows will be very, very important in terms of ensuring that the indigenous species return to their native places. So that's another initiative that we are hearing from Director General and also the other speakers, that flow is also very, very important for Ganga and its tributaries. But I just want to add one more thing. In our work, what we have found is also that biodiversity also helps connect people. The riparian, because there is a lot of livelihood that is linked to fisheries in the Ganga system. So the moment you put in a system to manage the fisheries in a sustainable way, it also ensures that there is sustainable livelihoods to the people, and that brings and strengthens the river people connect. Again, both Rajiv sir and Ashok sir talked about that. That connect is also important. We are getting people to volunteer to be the champions and custodians of dolphins, the dolphin mitras, where they are actually coming forward to. So I'm saying that, there are various aspects why biodiversity is important. It's not just for ecology, but also from a people and the livelihood point of view as well, because it ensures that the services and functions of the rivers continue to flow unlimited and unobstructed. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. We go back to Ashok. Ashok, your presentation, you did mention about how big the river Ganga basin is. It houses almost 40% of population. The mainstream of Ganga itself has as many as 5 states. If we take the tributaries, then number of states goes to 11 or whatever it may be. There are so many agencies working for Ganga. So how do you basically achieve the coordination among all these states and agencies? You have briefly said earlier also in the presentation, but could you just highlight 2-3 points that how do you achieve this coordination?
So this is, as you rightly mentioned, sir, this is not a one organization program. It is involving various aspects, because industry, the pollution control board is involved, because the industries which pollute the river, they are actually have to be monitored, and then their effluents have to be stopped from being discharged without treatment into the river. That has to happen. We also take up a lot of tree plantation. We also do a lot of activities in community management, etc., etc. So a lot of coordination is taken up, sir. So one major initiative which we have taken up in getting all people together is the Ardhina, which I'll come to a little later, sir. Second, there is a forum for all the ministries of the various departments to come in. So we have this Empower Task Force meeting held every quarterly, very religiously taken over by the ministry, by the minister. So we ensure that the targets or the activities fixed by the various ministries are monitored regularly. For example, sir, we talk about the tree plantation. Tree plantation involves the Forest Department, MAUA, and the state forest department. So there, how much plantation is done. We have set up a task force which actually monitors very, very closely the progress of the plantation, etc. That is taken up, sir. In the Empower Task Force also, we have the Ministry of Power. We talk about the reuse of treated water. So there's an MOU with the Ministry of Power to ensure that the treated water is used for the NTPC. So we have identified 24 the National Thermal Power Projects in the units, which will start using the water of treated water from the STPs. Like that, this coordination aspect is taken up by the Empower Task Force meetings. And in the states, there is a state level coordination meeting, which is headed by the Chief Secretary. That also brings in various departments, irrigation department, and the municipal administration department variously, because most of the towns are the one which use the polluting the river with their sewage. The involvement of municipal administration department, involvement of college. We have taken up MOUs with about 65 universities so far to involve their students and the lecturers in various aspects of water conservation and river management. So a lot of coordination activities are handled at the NMCG level, sir. And the minister heading the Empower Task Force also helps us in coordinating these activities.
Oh, thank you. So, National Mission for Clean Ganga as an authority is a very, it has a very structured, I understand, very structured way of coordination, because even the National Ganga Council, which is headed by the Honorable Prime Minister, it has the ministers from a number of ministries, and it has the chief minister from basin states actually. So right from there, as you rightly said, the empowered committee headed by the Minister empowered, and then you have a state missions for Clean Ganga where the chief secretary heads that, and very beginning you have said about district Ganga committees. So there are these, plus you have organizations like Ganga Praharis, etc. So that's the way you achieve the coordination. Thank you very much. Now we go to Rajiv. Rajiv, the often a saying is that we pay for construction, we don't pay for performance. This is one sentence which I keep saying in many places, because people are interested for construction. Most of the development, when we talk in the country, people will talk of construction. But then I remember at one point of time, even when I had taken over, most of the sewage treatment plants construction in UP were not functional actually, for whatever reasons maybe. I'm not saying they were constructed badly. They might have been, but there were no money for operation and maintenance. There were no money for paying electricity charges. So how we have tackled this as far as this national mission for this Namami Gange mission is concerned, that we don't only pay for construction, but we ensure long-term effective functioning of those sewage treatment plants.
Thank you, sir. I think that's a very pertinent, and this is not only here, everywhere. I think that there is a lot of budget for creation of a new asset, but after that we try to forget or try to pass the buck to some other authority, that the further O&M will be the responsibility of some other government. So I think that is the case here also. That was the case here also. That's why when Namami Gange was announced and when we were formulating this whole scheme for Namami Gange in 2014-15, we had realized that this will be the thing. So actually conditional assessment of all the STPs were done, I mean, all along the Ganga. And then we realized, I think actually it came, more than 50% of them were either defunct, or some of them were there but not meeting the standards stipulated by the environment authorities, or they were underutilized. So there were all kinds of problems in the previously created assets. That's why when making this program, one thought that we must make some provision for the O&M. Unlike many other missions where the O&M is left to the state, that's what was happening in Ganga Action Plan and the previous programs. Then what happens, the state does not give enough budget. Then they will do some sort of cutting corners, and ultimately the plant will not be run. And Ganga will keep on getting polluted. Keeping that in mind, the first step what had happened is we included 15-year long-term O&M what should be the long term? We decided 15 year. I think a lot of debate there also, 5 year, 10 year. Estates were not very keen for 15 year, but when they said the government of India will share the cost, then they also agreed. So 15-year O&M was part of the project cost right in the beginning from the Namami Gange. So that was one great thing. And we were looking at the lifestyle cost of the project. So O&M and CapEx. So both put together, lifestyle cost came. We moved one step ahead because knowing that we can further improve. So then the concept of PPP was introduced in wastewater management for the first time in Namami Gange, and hybrid annuity mode was brought. So idea is, I mean, simple terms, 40% of the capex will be paid during construction based upon milestones, and then the construction progress, the payment will be done, and remaining 60% will go in the annuity. Annuity will be indexed and taken care of the interest, inflation, etc. So I think that annuity will go, but the payment of annuity will be, I mean, you have completed. Payment of annuity means you have to perform, you have to meet the standards. So I think slowly the whole process, we are trying to build the performance orientation. So I think, as you very rightly say, paying for construction is one thing, but construction person takes the money and goes away and then does not perform. Then what is the fun? Ultimately, Ganga will keep on getting dirty water. So this brought a lot of things, and not only that, this also brought little efficiency, because the private player, the concessionaire, will be keen to do the better project management to complete it as fast as possible, so that he will start recovering his money quickly. So I think lots of project efficiency came and several projects came. It was not a very easy decision because initially market was not responding. Ashok showed in the slide. Several market consultations happened. Several times the concession agreement was also modified. It was a kind of joint learning process. And now this is such a kind of established thing that more and more people come because they have seen that there is no risk and this thing. But here I will like to say also, he also talked about the reuse. So in the next version of hybrid annuity and all that, little bit of revenue sharing, I think the using of these things, I think we have to go in that direction in future. And very quickly to add one more thing about this performance thing, we will do it with the new asset. What will happen with the old STPs, as you very rightly pointed out? So in many of the places, we brought an approach of one city, one operator. So the idea is when we pick up the new assets, the gap capacity, you have to create treatment capacity. You also don't overlook the older assets. So I think we had done conditional assessment. So go for them, whether they need to be upgraded, whether they will be workable. If they are defunct, then you have to create a new asset and put all of them under one umbrella, so that one operator will be taking care of a city. It will improve better accountability and better governance in that sector. So I think all these things have happened in this mission, which actually differentiates this mission from many other missions where O&M and other things are not taken care of. It's little risky for Namami Gange mission to take care of all the responsibility, but Ganga is Ganga and the rivers are important. Unless you look from the river point of view and do all these safeguards, it will be very difficult to ensure that what you create will actually keep on working and performing to the desired standards. So I think slowly it has been built in, and I think we have to further learn, further improve, and then change these things as we go.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. Even though it meant that Government of India has done a very liberal kind of 100% funding, but it has got the faith back actually. In the sense that at one point of time when I had joined, people used to say कि अरे ये गंगा में तो कितने सालों से काम हो रहा है, ना कुछ हुआ है, ना कुछ होगा. So even if basically it's a central government money or state government money, it's a government money. So but the 15 years O&M, the person who does the project also gets bound to that project for next 15 years actually. So as you rightly have said that even he has to ensure not only the speed but even the quality, because his O&M cost also is linked somewhat to the quality of the construction. And then, of course, you said about the this hybrid annuity mode and one city, one operator, 100% funding and 15 years O&M, and O&M cost projectized actually. So all this has led to a situation whereby there has been a considerable improvement in the functioning of sewage treatment plants. That's good. Professor Tare, you were talking when the first question also, you talked about the monitoring. Now, many times what happens that especially we used to hear not so much of not only STP but about the ETPs also, that ETPs, the industries do not basically even though they set up the effluent treatment plants, but they do not operate that because operation has a cost involved. So
Yes.
I just want to little more on whether it's a monitoring of STP or ETP and how a better use of technology can help in a proper monitoring. Could you just little highlight on this aspect?
I think it's very important aspect of the whole thing. But मैं उसको बहुत सिंपल भी बनाना चाहूंगा, बिकॉज
जी।
अल्टीमेटली ये आम जनता के पर्सपेक्टिव में दिखना चाहिए। और आम जनता के पर्सपेक्टिव में यदि हम देखेंगे तो हमारे 4-5 सेंसेस होते हैं, आंख, नाक, कान, जीभ और स्किन। उसमें सबसे ज्यादा विश्वास हमारा आंख पे होता है। तो आई थिंक हम आंख को रिप्लेस कर सकते हैं। और जैसे अशोक जी ने बताया कि ही हैज रिप्लेस आंख and centralize it to what is he calls it a प्रयाग, right? तो I think जितने भी हमारे STPs हैं और इंडस्ट्रियल एफ्लुएंट्स है, वहां पे हमको पहला काम करना चाहिए कि वहां पे हमको आंख लगाना चाहिए। दैट इज इफ यू कैन पुट द सिंपल कैमरा और वहां से ये पता करे कि फ्लो कितना हो रहा है और वो फ्लो कैसा दिखता है। आई थिंक दैट इज द फर्स्ट काइंड ऑफ थिंग दैट वी शुड डू एंड इट शुड नॉट कॉस्ट अस मच, राइट? उसके बाद फिर हमारा ये जाता है कि हम उसको और पैरामीटर्स कैसे मॉनिटर करें। बट पहला एस्पेक्ट जो हम सिंपली कर सकते हैं, सेंट्रलाइज वे में कर सकते हैं, रैपिड वे में कर सकते हैं कि सब जगह हम अपने आंख एस्टेब्लिश कर दिए, वर्चुअल आंख, और उससे सेंट्रली एटलीस्ट इतना तो पता चला कि इतना पानी हमने 100 ml बोला तो 100 ml निकल रहा है कि नहीं निकल रहा है, 50 ml बोला तो निकल रहा है कि इंडस्ट्री इतना बोल रही है उतना निकल रहा है कि नहीं निकल रहा है, लगातार निकल रहा है कि नहीं, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट। और वो दिखने में कैसा दिखता है, यदि वो काला पीला दिख रहा है तो ऑब्वियसली कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, एटलीस्ट वो दिखने में ठीक है। बाद में फिर हम उसमें जा सकते हैं कि उसमें पीओडी कितनी है ना, डीओ कितनी है ना, ये कितनी। दिस इज वन थिंग। द सेकंड थिंग इज कि हम हमेशा चाहेंगे कि हमारा रियल टाइम मॉनिटरिंग होता रहे, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई वुड से कि अभी हमारा स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट जो है सेंसस का, वो इतना एडवांस नहीं है कि हम उसको इस पर्पज के लिए लगा सके। तो हमें फिर रिस्ट्रिक्ट करना है, वेरी सिंपल। एंड अगेन आई वुड से डीओ इज अगेन अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पैरामीटर जो कि आसानी से उसके सेंसर भी है जो हम लगा सकते हैं। पर बाकी का जो परफॉर्मेंस मॉनिटरिंग है वो हमको सैंपलिंग और एनालिसिस के ऊपर रिलाय करना पड़ेगा। बट मेजर वी कैन एक्चुअली अचीव by just putting the camera there and looking at how much quantity of water waste effluent is coming and how does it look like, और जनता भी उसी के हिसाब से जैसे। और ये यदि हम उसके प्रीमिसेस के बाहर रखे जहां से भी आउटलेट आ रहा है पूरे फैक्ट्री का या एसटीपी का, वो पब्लिक के स्क्रूटी में होना चाहिए। तो कैमरा वहां लगना चाहिए जैसा पब्लिक दिखती है वैसा हमको भी दिखना चाहिए। That is what I would like to put it in a very simple fashion.
Very good. तो सब जगह आंख लगा दो और आंख भी ऐसी जगह लगे जहां लोग अपनी आंखों से भी उस आंख को देख पाएं। This is what you said. Very good. Suresh, I would like to ask you something which is related because there is flood plains. I always felt that flood plains are very important for the rivers. They belong to the river, but we feel कि flood plains belong to us. And hum with immunity or with impunity, whatever it may be, do everything on flood plains. वहाँ पे मंदिर बनाते हैं, वहाँ पे मस्जिद बनाते हैं, वहाँ पे कलेक्ट्रेट बनाते हैं, वहाँ पे हाउसिंग कॉलोनी बना देते हैं और शहर का C&D वेस्ट जो है वो भी डंप कर देंगे। यहीं पे यमुना में भी आप देख सकते हो, मतलब बाकी रिवर में भी होगा। तो ये फ्लड प्लेन्स जो है वेरी ये इसका क्या इंपॉर्टेंस होता है इधर रिवर इकोलॉजी के लिए या रिवर के लिए, और हमें क्या कुछ कर सकते हैं जो ये रैम्पेंट इंक्रोचमेंट ऑफ फ्लड प्लेन्स हो रहा है उसके लिए?
Thank you sir for this very important and an interesting question. When we talk about river, sir, river का भी एक connectivity का concept होते हैं। तो हम मोबाइल कनेक्टिविटी के लिए परेशान रहते हैं हमेशा, बट रिवर का कनेक्टिविटी के बारे में हम ज़्यादा सोचते नहीं है। हमारे अथॉरिटी ऑर्डर में सर अविरल गंगा बोला है, लेकिन उन्होंने लॉन्जिट्यूडनल कनेक्टिविटी के साथ साथ वी आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट अ लैटरल कनेक्टिविटी। So I'll come to that point a little later. Lateral connectivity means the right of the river to flood into the floodplains. The issue here is that the services provided by the floodplain, like आपने कहा कि दिल्ली में अभी floods हुए हैं, but we didn't realize that safeguarding of our floodplains will safeguard us from floods. That's number one. Number two, floodplains also recharge groundwater because Delhi जैसे city में, most of our water comes from the floodplain tube wells as well. There is a battery of tube wells that are in the floodplains. Number two. नंबर 3 जो सेडिमेंट डिपोजिशन के लिए जो सर्विसेज ऑफर करते हैं फ्लड प्लेन्स, अगेन वी डोंट रियली बॉदर मच अबाउट दैट, यू नो सेडिमेंटेशन सो जो होते हैं बाहर डाउनस्ट्रीम रिजर्वायर्स में एंड अदर प्लेसेस, वी वरी टू मच अबाउट दैट, बट वी डोंट रियलाइज दैट फ्लड प्लेन्स आर क्रिटिकल इन मैनेजमेंट ऑफ आवर सेडिमेंट. सो मेरा कहने का ये मतलब है कि सर फ्लड प्लेन्स का जो इकोसिस्टम सर्विसेज एंड वैल्यूज जो है, दैट इज नॉट रियली अंडरस्टूड बाय मेनी पीपल. नाउ फ्लड के टाइम में जो इंटरेक्शंस होते हैं, बायोटा का जो इंटरेक्शंस है, ऑक्सबो लेक्स है, फ्लड प्लेन वेटलैंड्स है, फ्लड प्लेन डिप्रेशंस है, वहां पे जो स्पॉनिंग ग्राउंड्स होते हैं हमारा फिश का, सो ये जो सर्विसेज जो दे रहे हैं, तो वी आर नॉट रियली वरीड too much about it, because the general awareness is, as you rightly said, एक wasteland है, उसको you know how do we economically utilize that and make most out of it. Now interestingly sir, हमारा जो authority order जो 2016 में हुआ है, उसका clause 6C clearly defines what a floodplain is, and it also prevents construction or alteration of the nature of the floodplains by for any particular purpose, and it also empowers not just the National Mission for Clean Ganga, but also the state missions as well as the district Ganga committees to take necessary actions to prevent and also, you know, deal with any kind of encroachments like that. So मेरा कहने का ये मतलब है सर, जो फ्लड प्लेन का जो इंटीग्रिटी अगर हमें मेंटेन करना है, तो हमें 2 या 3 लेवल्स पे काम करना होगा. 1, हमारा अथॉरिटी ऑर्डर जिस तरीके से आजकल इम्प्लीमेंट हो रहे हैं, डीजी सर ने कहा डीजीसीज आर क्वाइट एक्टिव राइट नाउ. 1, DGCs को sensitize हम करें कि floodplain protection is also part of river rejuvenation, and therefore you know you need to take actions on that. That's number 1. Number 2, how do you build a constituency who appreciate the value of floodplains? ये जो services जो offer कर रहे हैं, जैसे DG सर ने biodiversity parks की बात की, so that is also to enhance the interaction of the rivers and the floodplains. So, you know, if you can use those models to generate awareness and appreciation for the floodplains, that would also be really good. So I would say that ecologically, it's very important from a lateral and a vertical connectivity point of view. Vertical connectivity, I mean the groundwater recharge as well as the base flows point of view. So without that particular part, you know, realization of arboreal dhara in our river systems will be difficult. Authority order is also interesting because it doesn't talk just about Ganga, but also about its tributaries as well. So it gives us a larger framework to operationalize this across the river systems of the Ganga.
Well, thank you. You give a task. Ashok will have to now, I think, he will have to do 2 things, a little more kind of 1 minute. Sorry. Effectively, one is that create awareness about the role of floodplains. Actually, frankly speaking, a common man does not understand what is the role of floodplain, even that they are a storehouse of water, even for the point of view that lean flow into the river will come if the water is stored in floodplains. How the floodplains prevents basically flooding of the cities and all, room for the river kind of concept. So one is that. The other is, of course, there's a lot of power has been given in authority order. Some of these powers we have utilized, some of these powers we have yet to effectively enforce it actually. So thank you very much. Now, even though time we have less time, we had basically initially kept 1 hour, but we'll overshoot a little because there are a few things which requires a little more discussion, even though Ashok has presented that. So maybe we may have to go for another maybe 20 minutes or 25 minutes or so to discuss a few things. So Ashok made a mention of Earth Ganga. I remember this word was used by Honorable Prime Minister when me and Rajiv were also there when we were attending the first National Ganga Council meeting at Kanpur, when he said this word Earth Ganga. And I am told that since then, Earth Ganga has almost become kind of a cornerstone of Namami Gange mission or whatever. So in a very simple word, Ashok will explain to us what is this concept of Earth Ganga and what kind of economic activities has already been undertaken which is benefiting the people and the river.
So thank you, sir. So actually, you rightly said, sir, this was the concept of Earth Ganga was given by the Honorable Prime Minister in the first National Ganga Council meeting, and this is the logo which we had designed for Earth Ganga, sir. The concept PM said was that we should have a economic bridge to connect river and people, So if you see that there is a rupee is also in there, this the logo of Arth Ganga, sir. And the tagline is Bahti Nadi Behtar Jeevan. And in English, it's called, I made it banking on river Ganga. So this is the Arth Ganga part, sir. And if you have a Sri Ganesh TV Dikte, so it's basically a, spiritual connect as well as economic connect on with the river. Next one. So these are the 6 verticals identified, sir. One is the zero budget natural farming, because there is a lot of farming activity going on either side of the river. So the best and the most important client on either side of the river are the farmers. So we should do something to improve the conditions of the farmers and also to increase their income. So we have put this zero budget natural farming as one of the major important aspects. So, and we also slightly modified the normal slogan, which say more crop per drop. We have made it more net income per drop. Basically, it is the farmers which matters, not the more production of crops. So we have said that if the natural farming is used, your input costs will be reduced, and hence, even if the production goes down a little bit, your since your expenditure involved will be reduced, you will get a more net income out of the thing. And second, from a very truly selfish point of view, if you reduce the flow of chemical fertilizers to the river from the fields, that is a good pollution load reduction for the river. And since most of our biodiversity and all are very essential for us and very important for us, we thought that this would be one of the important pillars for Ganga. Then second is the finding some money for the municipalities to run it, and also go for the circular economy, which is the people talk about now. So the reuse and monetization of sludge and treated water, and reuse of sludge and treated water. That's what we are looking at, sir. So it is meant for the revenue generation of ULBs, and also follow the principle of the circular economy of water, sir.
Ashok, you will have to be a little more.
I'll go faster. So then the third one is about the livelihood generation opportunities, sir. We have taken up a lot of activities for getting the people with various livelihood opportunities. Ghat by Heart has been promoted to have local products sold in the Ghat, sir. Then Ganga Prairie's capacity has been built to do a lot of activities like acting as guide, etc. I'll come to it later, sir. Second, then the fourth pillar is about the cultural heritage and tourism. A lot of important tourist spots, both religious as well as historical, as well as nature beauty and natural habitats of tigers, etc. there. So this is one thing which we are trying to push as a tourism activity, acting as guides in these areas, etc. has been taken up, sir. And cruise to come through these rivers also is taken up. Public participation, as we have mentioned earlier, is the fifth pillar, and institution building is also very important. We are now building up capacity for the municipalities to prepare the urban river management plans. The district Ganga committees have been trained a lot. A lot of things have been taken up. These are the 6 pillars. The next one, first. So natural farming, almost 10,000 farmers have been trained. So I myself attend almost 20-25 workshops of farmers, sir. Fisheries, as was mentioned, another important activity for the farmers. So almost 9.3 million Indian carp fishes have been ranched. Millet farming has been taken up in a big way, sir. So next one. This is about the treatment plan, sir. As you are aware, the Mathura plan, we are supplying water to the IOCL, and we are tied up with the NTPC to take up this water from the almost 20 STPs around that place, sir. We are tied up with MOU, the Ministry of Railways, etc. And also we have set up a center of excellence with Terry for researching on the use of treated water, and we have also published what is called as a national framework for the safe use of treated water, which has been sent to all the states. All the chief secretaries have been asked to work on that, and this is one thing which is going up very well. So next one. And this is about the highlights, sir. Highlight of the livelihood opportunities. Ghat by Heart, a lot of areas. Ghats have come in the Ghats, and weekly markets are happening. And up this one in Delhi Hut, we opened this month, sir. A major center for all the Ganga Basin products is coming up. It will be opened by end of this month. Next one. This is the cultural heritage and tourism, sir. We have Honorable Prime Minister launched the MB Ganga Villas, the longest river cruise. And a lot of activities have been taken up in the tourism, sir, in various activities. Next one. And public participation, as I mentioned, Ghat Mein Heart, sir, on 21st of June, June on the International Yoga Day, we had almost 1 million people participating in yoga on the river bank. So Ghat Mein Heart has come, yoga has come up very popular. We also started artis in about 60, 70 areas. We have given standardized the procedures of arti, and using the training facilities at the Paramatma Niketan, trained about more than 150 people to do the artis on a standardized SOP, and that is being taken up, sir. And almost for 4,000 Ganga priories are there with us. So there's another new concept of 5 Ma, sir, Panchma. Ma Ganga, mandirs on the bank of Ma Ganga will have bhog made by Mahila using mitti and from the local mati. This is the Panchma, sir. This is also almost 600 temples we have associated with us with so that they produce this local mithai and then sell the products in the as Ganga bhog. Next one. So River City Alliance is a very important concept launched during Rajesh time in 25th November 2021. Now we have 143 cities, and it is going to be a global River City Alliance, probably in a very big way. A lot of activities have been taken up in that, sir. Next one. So this is the program we had in Pune. 108 cities had participated in the program at Pune, sir. Next one. This again, 65 universities we have joined MOU, and it is also being taken up, sir, to bring the people. So these are some of the activities under Ardha Ganga, which actually brings in a lot of people's participation and a lot of stakeholders' participation. This has been now, this has become one of the most important, prominent activity of Ganga. Thank you. Namami Gange.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm sorry that you have. You had to hurry with it, because this perhaps will require a separate webinar for 1 hour or so only, Earth Ganga, because it's not only generating economic, creating economic opportunity for the people, but also for the people to connect to the river actually. Because in many places, for example, Delhi in Yamuna, maybe because of Yamuna condition, because there is no connect of the people with the river actually. So that's now quickly we go to Rajiv again. Rajiv, we have, I'm not saying that everything is done as far as Ganga is concerned, but then still everybody here recognizes that yes, considerable progress has been made as far as the Ganga is concerned. So how is this, can this be replicated across the other states in the country and the other rivers?
Yes, sir. I think that should be the aim, and it was perhaps aimed in the beginning also, that Namami Gange will set certain things which can be also used for the other rivers. I think few things come to my mind. I mean, how it can be done. I think the most important impact of Namami Gange, I mean, to take it forward is perhaps there is a framework to understand river in a more holistic way. Like we discussed about floodplain, we discussed about biodiversity. तो केवल गंदा कूड़ा करकट और नदी का घाट ही नहीं है, और only religious things are also not there. Perhaps the whole ecological understanding has come. Now to take it forward, I think we have got a very clear authority order, which actually Suresh also referred. It talks about certain principles, and then certain powers are given that may not be necessary for the other rivers. But I think those principles have become very clear. The understanding of river and river rejuvenation actually has become much more clear. And when we make a river rejuvenation plan for the other rivers, I think that is very much there for us to follow. Second thing, I think I will tell that there are several first of its kind initiatives took place in Namami Gange as a kind of experimentation. You can consider it as a very mega pilot kind of thing happened. Now that can be replicated. But while replicating, we have to look at the basin condition and then basin characteristics. So I think one thing which I think NMCG is also already doing is to develop little more detailed river basin plan for Ram Ganga is happening and all that. So similar exercise for the other rivers have to come. I think that's also happening. Then I think we have to learn, we have to pick up few things, doing it fast, how it can be done fast, doing it right. We talked about hybridity, other things, how it can be done. E-flow. Now there is a lot of things. 10 years back, there was not much on the e-flow at the government thing. So e-flow is there, beyond cleaning, scientific afforestation. Now, sir, afforestation, which we did with the Ganga thing, already MOEF is doing it for 13 more rivers in the country. So I think slowly some of these things are happening there. Biodiversity, what we did with the WWF or WIII, some of it is actually going to the other basin also. Similarly, People River Connect, several models, very detailed models, and several initiatives happen in Namami Gange, whether it is quiz, whether it is a cultural program. I think many of these things are replicable across other rivers also. But I think what will be even river-centric urban planning. Ashok talked about the River City Alliance. Now this River City Alliance has gone beyond Ganga Basin already. So I think there is a whole lot of things like managing urban rivers, from planning to practice. So there are lots of practical tools, lot of concession agreements, tools are there, policies are there. And there is also a mandate. I think, sir, you will remember NGT also had once given this mandate that the authority order is comprehensive and statutory. So similar kind of thing government should also think to do for the other things. And then the NGT mandate of river rejuvenation plan. So I think this perhaps there is a need to take it forward to all the rivers, and very much it is possible. Another thing which is also possible with the DGC, another thing becoming very active, the smaller rivers. I think the district Ganga committee can do wonders with the smaller rivers using some of these principles, because small rivers can start getting rejuvenated. I think Sri Ganga also is trying to develop some sort of plan for the smaller rivers. So I think there is a endless possibility of replicating, but I think this has to be pushed, this has to be understood, this has to be taken to the other states, and using all the mandates given by NGT and other things, this opportunity has to be used. I think we have a very clear blueprint before us. We have also seen result, even if it is not perfect, but certainly positive trends are there. There is a confidence that it's working. So I think there are lots of possibility and lots of tools, lots of policies which can be taken forward to different states.
Thank you very much. So basically there is whatever the best practices or whatever we have learned, whether it's a policy, programs, implementation, all the lessons can be certainly replicated elsewhere. But then, and there is also something called a National River Conservation Project, NRCP. Unfortunately, NRCP doesn't have the kind of, let's say, a financial backing and other things which is there for the Namami Gange actually. So perhaps this is the high time that we get a dedicated funding. Maybe states, larger involvement of the states can be tried there. It may not be maybe 100% funding or whatever, maybe, but then perhaps there is a need to take it to other basins as well, and it can be taken very well. Professor Tare, everybody has now been talking of, and I remember when I joined, everybody talking of Nirmal Ganga. Then the other minister always used to say निर्मल गंगा तभी होगी जब अविरल गंगा होगी. कुछ लोग कहते थे नहीं पहले अभी अविरल गंगा की बात मत करो, because that used to be a bit controversial or whatever, or difficult to implement. And Nirmal Ganga was easier because you make the projects and you implement and construct and make it functional. But slowly and slowly 2018 in a way was a very important decision. For the first time, Government of India notified for Ganga Basin what is called e-flow. It's another matter that people commented it's too late, too little. I always used to say take it as a beginning. So could you very briefly tell our viewers that what is this concept of e-flow and why is e-flow so important for the river?
E-flow का importance तो अब by and large सभी ने समझ लिया है कि e-flow होना चाहिए. कितना होना चाहिए इसके ऊपर मतभेद है, क्लैरिटी नहीं है. तो यदि हमने ये ऑब्जेक्टिव सेट कर दिया है कि अविरल और निर्मल रिवर का मतलब है, या रिवर कंजर्वेशन का मतलब ये है कि इंडिजिनस एक्वेटिक लाइफ वहां पे आ जाए, तो उसके लिए जितना पानी चाहिए मैं कहूंगा वही ई-फ्लो होना चाहिए. अब सवाल ये आता है कि हम ये ई-फ्लो कितना चाहिए, उसके पहले की स्टेप आई थिंक ई-फ्लो कितना होना चाहिए और उसको मैनेज कैसे करेंगे, ये बहुत ही कंटेंशियस टॉपिक है. तो उसके पहले की अब हम एक स्टेप यदि पहले सॉल्व कर दे, जो मेरे हिसाब से कंट्रोवर्शियल और कंटेंशियस नहीं होनी चाहिए, कि हम ये पहले नोटिफाई कर दे कि भाई ई-फ्लो निकालेंगे कैसे, राइट. और वो ई-फ्लो की मेथोडोलॉजी आप प्रिस्क्राइब कर दीजिए, नोटिफिकेशन कर दीजिए, और सब लोगों को जो जहां पे रिस्पॉन्सिबल है उसको बोलिए कि इस मेथोडोलॉजी से आप सिर्फ ये बता दीजिए कि वहां पे कितना फ्लो चाहिए. ओके, फिर वो फ्लो कैसे आएगा वो कंटेंशियस बात है, पर पहली स्टेप ये करनी चाहिए कि वो हम फ्लो कैसे, वो मेरे को जहां तक लगता है, जैसे मैंने मिनिस्ट्री ने NIH को प्रोजेक्ट दिया था यमुना के लिए ई फ्लो निकालने का, जहां तक मेरा मानना है मेथोडोलॉजी पे कोई कंट्रोवर्सी इतनी नहीं है. ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है कि लोकल इंडिजिनस एक्वेटिक लाइफ और राइपेरियन वेजिटेशन के लिए फ्लो पैटर्न क्या होना चाहिए, ओके, और वो कभी भी नेचुरल फ्लो पैटर्न से ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए। दिस इज व्हाट इज द थिंग। तो ये इसके तहत यदि हम मेथोडोलॉजी का नोटिफिकेशन कर दे और सबको बोले कि आप इस मेथोडोलॉजी का यूज करके अपनी अपनी जगह कितना फ्लो होना चाहिए आप खुद ही बता दीजिए, तो उसमें कोई गए, और फिर हम उनको बोलेंगे आप ही ने बोला है इतना फ्लो होना चाहिए, अब आप ही बताइए कि कहाँ आना, क्या से आना चाहिए, तो देन आई थिंक वी विल बी एबल टू मूव फॉरवर्ड। पर पहला ही यदि हम स्टेप कर देते हैं तो वो थोड़ा टॉप डाउन अप्रोच हो जाता है कि हम ऊपर से डिक्टेट करते हैं कि इतना फ्लो होना चाहिए, यहाँ 10% होना चाहिए, 20% होना चाहिए, उसमें बहुत ही कंट्रोवर्सी क्रिएट होती है। कोई बोलता है 10% कहाँ से, 50% तो कम से कम होना चाहिए। तो ये आई थिंक कंट्रोवर्सी पहले हमको जो आसानी से हम निकाल सकते हैं उसको पहले एड्रेस कर ले, और फिर वो आएगा कैसे उसके लिए जैसे सुरेश ने भी बताया कि मल्टीपल एफर्ट्स आर रिक्वायर्ड, वाटर यूज इफिशियंसी लेके तो फ्लड प्लेन्स को लेके तो हजारों चीजें उसमें इन्वॉल्व है, पर वो धीरे धीरे होगा। पहले हम लोगों को जिम्मेदारी तो दे कि आप खुद ही बताइए कि अपनी जगह कितना फ्लो होना चाहिए रिवर में उस पर्टिकुलर, फिर हर रिवर की बात कर रहे हैं, खाली गंगा की ही नहीं, किसी भी ट्रिब्यूटरी। तो पहले आप बताइए कि आपके हिसाब से ये ऑब्जेक्टिव के हिसाब से कितना पानी होना चाहिए, क्या फ्लो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होना चाहिए, फिर उसको कैसे लाएंगे वो हम धीरे धीरे निगोशिएशन करके रिजॉल्व करते रहे।
Suresh ji, you also talked about earlier also about the flow. We all now recognize. In fact, I always quote Professor Tarej one sentence. He always used to say, "River is that which flows. If something which doesn't flow is not a river." So I say the 8 months for 8 months in Yamuna, Yamuna is not a river because there is no flow in Yamuna. So that now everybody understand. मैं तो हमेशा ये बोलता हूँ ना, जैसे शरीर में ब्लड चाहिए शरीर के आदमी के सर्वाइवल के लिए, तो नदी के सर्वाइवल के लिए पानी चाहिए. So there has to be some certain minimum kind of flow. अब प्रोफेसर तारे का कहना है कि instead of someone determining through some studies and saying कि नहीं नहीं minimum इतना flow होना चाहिए, he wants to give this responsibility to the people, that people should themselves decide what should be the kind of e-flow and where. I don't know. Ideally, it looks very good, but I don't know to what extent it would be possible to implement that. Do you have any views on this, about this e-flow or Aviral Dhara as far as the rivers are concerned?
Yeah, thank you, sir. You know, while recognizing that e-flows is very important, I think I kind of concur with what Professor Tare said. You know, because sir, quite often we say that flow determination is an iterative process. It involves science. It also involves a societal process. Okay, so for instance, you know, what do you want to see your river to be? You know, so that's kind of important, and therefore we need to kind of balance this, and an agreement on a methodology for assessing environmental flows across the river systems India will be a big step forward for us. So that's number one. Number two, sir, you know, like you began by saying, you know, e-flows once assessed, you know, you need to also look at the response of the ecology to varying regimes of flow restoration. Okay, so like we say, basin planning में भी एक cycle होते हैं 5 साल, because the drivers will change, the pressures will change, therefore your basin strategy will need to also change. Similarly, e-flows का value भी हमें iterative process से निकालना पड़ेगा, because अगर हमने आज flow determine कर लिया based on the best knowledge available, maybe in 2-3 years, 5 years time, the knowledge will change and more advanced information will be available to us. So we need to recognize that. But I also believe, sir, while methodology is important, at the same time, we should not give up on our efforts to restore flows. There are two suggestions that I wanted to make. One, you know, we need to look at the demand side part, and the second one is on the supply side. Supply side mein hamara authority order is prescribing certain flows for the Ganga downstream of certain structures. But we also need to look at the other aspects of the supply side. For instance, you know, Ashok sir यहाँ पे जिनके नाम पे एक lake भी named है, you know, so he knows the importance of wetlands. And Rajiv sir also a great champion of wetlands conservation in the Ganga basin. So sir, wetlands in our areas, you know, is very, very important for enhancing the surface groundwater interaction. I'm not saying across the Ganga basin it is true, but there are few areas which are, few rivers which are aquifer-fed. Wetlands can play a huge role. So can we not identify those wetlands? Can we not strengthen those interactions in the interim? So focusing on wetlands, Ashok sir has already, I've heard him in many occasions emphasizing on this particular aspect. The other part is, sir, looking at the demand side. Ashok sir also talked about the zero budget natural farming within the 10-kilometer boundaries of the river. There is also an opportunity to look at the larger irrigation systems. For instance, the Upper Ganga canal system, the Lower Ganga canal systems, which draw huge amounts of water from the Bhimgoda barrage and the other barrages that we have. And even a small percentage increase in water use efficiency can make a huge difference to the river. An example that I would like to quote here is our engagement with the UP Irrigation Department. In the Ramganga basin, looking at a small river, which is about 160 kilometers, a marginal increase, shifting from flood irrigation to trench-based irrigation of sugarcane is helping us bring water back into a river. It's about 100,000 farmers who is working on this with the irrigation department. So if this model can be kind of looked into, and like Ashok sir said, agriculture is a major focus for the Namami Gange mission as well. So if we can actually look at the major irrigation systems and ensure that demand side management in agriculture can be given a priority. Second, looking at the urban centers, though the surface water abstraction is not huge in some of the cities in the Ganga basin, but groundwater dependence is huge. Therefore, any small change or delta in demand in the urban centers can also be looked upon as a source for additional water for our river. So I think while we focus on methodology, small steps towards restoring flows is also important. Last point, sir, we talked about floodplains. Similar to floodplains, there are hydrologically and ecologically important rivers for the Ganga and the tributaries. Some tributaries, if we lose them, it's going to have a huge impact on the hydrology of the Ganga. So we need to also identify those hydrologically important rivers and start working towards protecting of those as well. So these were these are challenging, complex issues, but I just thought I'll put it across before the panelists.
Thank you very much. In fact, I had one further set of questions. One is to all four of them, but it's already going to be almost 5:30. And the questions have by and large been answered even, but still what I will do is very quickly, 1 minute each, I'll just go through since I've made some attempts to make that. One is that our focus in the beginning, as far as this is for Ashok, our focus in the beginning was on the mainstem of river Ganga actually. We always used to say mainstem starting from Uttarakhand to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, a small one district, Sahibganj of Jharkhand, and thereafter West Bengal. Now, everybody realizes that when we talk of basin approach, it is not just the mainstem. All the tributary, whether it's a first order tributary, second order tributary, third order tributary, they all are equally important. So is it now, since you have tackled most of the issues relating to mainstem, is it that the Namami Gange has a kind of shifted its focus or shifting its focus to tributaries?
Yes, sir, that's very rightly said. Since there's a improvement of water quality in the mainstem, the last EC meetings, most of the projects sanctioned are on the rivers, the tributaries. We have now covered extensively the entire Hindon River. More than 5-6 STPs have been transferred to Hindon River, the Kali River, Yamuna, Shipra. We have gone up to Khan River or in Madhya, up to even Ujjain. So the focus is very much shifting to the tributaries. In West Bengal also, Damodar, Sonaraga, all the tributaries are being tackled on a very, very priority basis, sir.
Okay, that's very good. So the priority is now, so it would be real basin approach now, when it's not just that we clear the main artery and we don't take care of the side arteries. Rajiv, we talked about public participation. In fact, Ashok talked about that. Honorable Prime Minister always used to emphasize on the public participation. He always said the National Mission for Clean Namami Gange is not a project. It is not just a program, since it's a mission. So could you just very briefly tell how this public participation in Namami Gange has been ensured, or what more can be done?
Right, sir. Very quickly, जैसा आप बता रहे हैं सर, एक्चुअली गंगा या कोई भी नदी किसकी है? If we have this question, तो ultimately लोगों की ही है. It's not belonging to any department. They may do something, but how to really catalyze them, how to really make them active to start owning up and then doing something for that. So that's the important thing. So primarily in Namami Gange mission, what we have tried to do is create certain structure. I think Ashok has already explained. So different groups of volunteers, actually, I mean, the strategy was to create certain structure and not at the top level, going right at the grassroots level, those structures, and then enforce them, I mean, catalyze them, activate them through a set of activities. So this is actually one primary principle. So we have Ganga Prahari with biodiversity, Ganga Mitra, Ganga Doot with Nehru Yuvak Kendra, Ganga Vichar Manch, some enlightened citizens in the local area who have something for Ganga, Ganga Task Force of the ex-servicemen. So I think this is a whole lot of things which have actually created a structure. School students, college, university students, Ashok mentioned about igniting minds, some university, MOUs, even thesis competition under this urban river. So I think recently I was there. So I think this is a whole lot of thing. And then District Ganga Council becomes a kind of nodal point, which can actually activate all of them, coordinate, monitor, and then make them active. And then all the activities, it can be Ganga Utsav, Nadi Utsav, Ganga Yatra, cleaning drives, I think Ganga Quest Quiz, Ganga Run, Marathon, Vriksharopan, we know. So actually year round, or the rafting expedition, year round, you have to keep on doing something so that your cadre is motivated and they actually do. This has actually helped us because so often many of them are doing something on their own. They go to the Ganga Ghat and they do something and post it. So I think you all also must be seeing, I also keep on getting a lot of messages. One feels very happy that now that kind of motivation has come. This would not have happened unless you were structured. So I think when we take off the other river, also something like that is done. So basically to end, I will say, I think we had this Ganga anthem in which there was a kind of change of tack, and they say, Pani jo tera khara, tere aansu ki dhara. कैसे मैं देखूं संतान हूं, माना है तुझे माँ, ये धर्म है मेरा, मैं तुझे तेरा वो सम्मान दूं. So this is very important line because this actually talks about astha. This also talks about our responsibility.
Giving back.
So I
Giving
think
back to the river.
आस्था से कर्तव्य की यात्रा करनी होगी, and that's what Namami Gange through different structures has been trying to do. So I think as we are really out of time, so I will not like to explain each of these components, but yes, everyone has to be involved. How to involve? We have to keep on changing. We have to keep on keeping it interesting and motivated.
Okay, thank you very much. Last one, Professor Tare. Of course, like school, we read the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. I never understood why they are called 3 R's, because writing starts with W and arithmetic starts with A. But we all talk of 3 R's of river rejuvenation or even water. Of course, in water, I talk of 5 R's. I not only talk of reduce, recycle, reuse, I also talk of 2 more R's: recharge and respect. Respect for the water or respect for the river. So I would basically want reuse, because Ashok also talked about the reuse of treated water. Maybe the quantity of treated water is not that huge, but as we will progress, more and more demand for the water will come. So what needs to be done in the sense that to ensure a larger use of treated water reuse?
The reuse of water has to be seen in a multiple way. अभी जो हम reuse का concept देखते हैं कि मेरे को पैसा कहाँ से मिलेगा, तो जब हम पैसे से वो reuse को relate करते हैं तो हमारी दिक्कतें बढ़ जाती है. और आप सबको पता है कि वो जो जिससे हमको पैसा आ सकता है वो बहुत ही छोटा सा फ्रैक्शन है. तो आई थिंक उसको हमको बहुत ज्यादा एम्फेसाइज नहीं, जहां मिल सकता है जरूर लेना चाहिए, जो दे सकता है उसे जरूर लेना चाहिए. पर यदि आप एक तरफ एग्रीकल्चर में उस पानी की यूज की बात करते हैं तो फार्मर से कहां से पैसा आएगा उस पानी का. तो आई थिंक थोड़ा हमको डी एम्फेसाइज करना पड़ेगा कि उसको सेल करके ही हम पूरा पैसा निकाल ले. ये थोड़ा कंसेप्ट हमको. और जहां तक है, हमको वेटलैंड को भी पानी चाहिए, नदियों के लिए भी पानी चाहिए, तालाबों के लिए भी पानी चाहिए. वो पानी कहाँ से आएगा? तो वो भी तो पानी वहां ट्रीटेड वाटर जाना चाहिए. तो आई थिंक रीयूज का कंसेप्ट हमें बढ़ाना चाहिए, और जो नेचुरल कैपेसिटी है वेरियस सिस्टम्स की, उसको हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा यूज करें, ना कि पूरा के पूरा रिलाय हम इलेक्ट्रोमैकेनिकल सिस्टम पे करें. और कहीं ना कहीं हम, मेरे को लगता है हम ये गलती करते जा रहे हैं कि हम बहुत ज्यादा हाई स्टैंडर्ड बनाते जा रहे हैं, और उससे जो है ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट की कॉस्ट जो है वो बहुत बढ़ती जा रही है. और एक बार कहीं हमने कर दिया, अब हमको बैक स्टेप लेना बहुत मुश्किल है, क्योंकि हर बोल रहे हैं आप कर नहीं पा रहे हैं, इसलिए अब आप उसको वापस लेना चाहते हैं. पर आई थिंक वी हैव टू कन्विंस कि हमको इतने हाई लेवल पे हर जगह करने की जरूरत नहीं है। वी शुड नॉट हैव यूनिफॉर्म स्टैंडर्ड्स एवरीवेयर। जहां जैसी जरूरत है उस हिसाब से आप स्टैंडर्ड बनाइए और उसी लेवल का ट्रीटमेंट हमें करना चाहिए। एंड रेस्ट नेचर से भी हमको सहायता लेनी चाहिए, चाहे वो वेटलैंड्स हो, चाहे वो फ्लड प्लेन्स हो, चाहे वो रिवर हो, चाहे वो तालाब हो, तो वो भी एक प्रकार से उनको रिजनरेट करना और उसमें पानी डालना भी एक प्रकार से बड़ा रियूज है और वो एक संसाधनों को तैयार करने वाला है। और उसके लिए यदि हमको पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर करना भी पड़े तो हमें करना चाहिए। सीधा हमको उसके आर्थिक दृष्टि से कि मैंने जितना खर्चा किया वो तुरंत मेरे को मिल जाए, आई थिंक वो मेंटालिटी जो है धीरे धीरे हमको थोड़ी कम करनी पड़ेगी। जहाँ हो सकता है जरूर करना चाहिए।
तारे साहब, आपने बहुत बढ़िया 2 पॉइंट कहे। आई टोटली एग्री विथ यू। कहीं कहीं जरूर कहीं कहीं पैसे निकल सकते हैं। इफ यू गो टू अ नागपुर सिटी और एनी अदर सिटी, मे बी ट्रीटेड वाटर बेच के आपको अच्छा खासा, सूरत में, नागपुर में लोग पैसा कमा भी रहे हैं, म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन, वहां हो सकता है। लेकिन वो हर जगह नहीं हो सकता। अगर कहीं पे हमको लगता है कि हरिद्वार का पानी अगर हमको एक कैनाल बना के इरिगेशन में लाना है जहाँ पे कि वो कमर्शियली वायबल नहीं होगा, फिर भी ले जाना चाहिए। बिकॉज नन ऑफ द इरिगेशन प्रोजेक्ट, इफ यू रियली सी, आर रन ऑन अ कमर्शियल लाइन्स एक्चुअली. Maybe you only calculate a what is called a benefit cost ratio or something, but we all know about that. So that point is very valid. The other point which you raised, which was not, कि हम हर जगह जो सोचते हैं ना, मैं हमेशा कहता हूं कि भैया हर आदमी को जो है पहले हमें दाल रोटी या दाल भात खाने की जरूरत है, उसके बाद हमको हायर लेवल पे जरूरत है। अब पानी का जो रीयूज पे डिपेंड करता है, व्हाई शुड एवरीवेयर हम कल कहें कि नहीं भाई बीओडी हमको जीरो करना है, तो मे बी टेक्निकली इट कुड बी पॉसिबल टू मेक बीओडी जीरो, बट हम क्यों करें, एट व्हाट कॉस्ट एक्चुअली? ये लोगों को गलतफहमी है। कई जगह लोग कहते हैं गंगा का पानी वहां पीने लायक नहीं है। पीने लायक तो वर्ल्ड में कहीं भी रिवर वाटर इज नॉट अ पोटेबल एक्चुअली। सो दैट वंस यू अंडरस्टूड, तो यू हैव रेज्ड अ वेरी वैलिड क्वेश्चन कि ट्रीटमेंट का लेवल होना चाहिए हमारा कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ जो ट्रीटेड वाटर आए उसका हम रीयूज क्या कर रहे हैं, उसके बेसिस पे होना चाहिए। नाउ लास्ट वन, Suresh has already answered that, but what I had said that I always have been concerned about the over exploitation of groundwater and surface water. And sometimes initially when I joined NMCG, I didn't know how is the over exploitation of groundwater connected to the river rejuvenation. Later on, I realized that the water which comes into a river during the lean season is basically the water which is stored in the aquifers during the monsoon season or whatever. So last, I would like, and you have already were saying so, but my question was basically that how is the over exploitation of surface and groundwater affects the river rejuvenation, and what can be done to improve the water use efficiency so that more water is available to the river for its own use?
Thank you, sir. And in fact, you yourself has answered that because the groundwater is part of our water equation. So groundwater, surface water, the flows from glaciers, rainfall, etc., everything is kind of connected. And for certain river systems, aquifer flows are very, very important. And that's why the groundwater abstraction is actually throwing our rivers into distress in many places. And connected to that is also, sir, the loss of recharge areas. Abstraction is on one side, but also when you look at it, the conversion of land use, the land use changes, particularly the degradation of wetlands, which used to act as recharge sources, that's also need to be understood in this particular context. Now, going back to what can be done, I think we discussed this earlier, three steps I would kind of put across to the panelists. One, demand side management, it's about water use efficiency enhancement, where it's very important to also look at reduction in chemical use, because the soil becomes thirsty when you add more and more chemicals. So we need to reduce that dependency on chemicals and go to more of natural organic based fertilizers and chemicals. And there are simple solutions that are available across the country, whether it is Amalpar, Panchamrit, Panchagavya, so there are many things that are being used across the country. That's on the demand side part. I think on the supply side, again, looking at identification of those aquifers which are feeding the groundwater and protecting them, looking at wetland restoration, very important. The third, I think, what I want to highlight is also to use enabling legislations, because Participatory Irrigation Management Act is there in most of the states. And there, we are talking about using irrigation water efficiently, recovering the cost of it, promoting crops which are viable to that area, etc., etc. So if you could look, I mean, I think the ministry, because of the advantage of the umbrella ministry of Jal Shakti is that, because irrigation, river rejuvenation, everything is together. So if you could bring in some amendments in the PIM Act across the states to also look at how agriculture water management can lead to river rejuvenation. I think that will be a big boost to tributary rejuvenation across the country. And I think empowering the Water Users Association with the approaches that can enable them to revive their own tributaries in their own region, in their command areas, will be a great step forward. So I would like to stop there, sir.
Thank you. That's a very important point you have made. Of course, the topic of water and the river is so huge that perhaps we can discuss for hours and still we would not be able to cover everything. But then we had planned for an 1 hour. We have already kind of a 1 hour, 40 minutes or so. So we will stop here. First of all, it was a pleasure seeing all of you at one platform. And hopefully we will keep meeting either through our webinars or physically. So thank you very much. First, my thanks goes to all the speakers. My thanks to all the viewers as well. And at the end, I would like to thank the organizers, the Resurgent India Limited and its CEO, Jyoti Gadia. He has given me a platform which I am utilizing basically, that maybe similar kind of a webinar I propose to have every 15 days or so, to discuss something which would be important for the country, something which is important for the people actually. So my thanks to Resurgent India Limited and its CEO Jyoti Gadia as well. So thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ashok. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Vinodji. Thank you, Suresh. Rohan, we can disconnect now.
Yes, sir, sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.